So I've run into a big problem. When I was doing the daily checkup on all my terrariums this morning, I found that only one of my snails was still out, and that the rest had buried. This was one of my first containers, and that's why there's hot glue everywhere, messy sand at the bottom, and it's just overall cramped. And the other snails wouldn't have got out because I had the lid on. So I know exactly where they went. They're buried underneath the sand. That means they're waiting for more food. And you can't just feed them with tweezers, like most of my other pets. So you gotta wait for the algae to grow on the glass. And honestly, they're running out. So I say it's time to make these guys another enclosure. Not a permanent one, just an alternative. To get them out of this one every now and then. I do have lots of tanks with water features, like my Costa Rica terrarium, and even ones like the Badlands. So I went to grab a container when... What? There's no containers. So now I'm at the only reasonable place on earth, Dollarama. So we just got out of Dollarama and we have a load. Now to start, like everything, I stole this glass from my kitchen. So first, we put some gravel in this cup. Now we give it a nice little rinse. That's not what I consider a rinse. Now we just let it sit. So, I use a hose, but I did a lot of off-camera washing to make it great. Now, while we're waiting for this, let's grab the container. So this is a slightly bigger container with a purposeful light blue lid. Hopefully it'll make the water look cool. And now, for our supplies. First, I need to build up the scape. Gotcha. For the backdrop, I want to have like a lava rock. But since those cost money, I'm just using these. Now I take these big rocks and put them in certain arrangements. Like this. I turned out to really like an idea of a hill in this corner. So I changed up the arrangements on my rocks because I seem to really like this. On this tall peak here, we could probably add some moss. And then right here will be like a crystal cave. If you're wondering why I'm not on the table right now, because I was just doing some hot glue. If you're asking where, I just sprinkle some sand to make it look a bit more natural. Now it's time for our substrate. First, we're going to take about half the rocks we prepared earlier. It is pretty big, so I'm using a good amount of substrate. Then I add a lot of sand and cover it with these tiny little rocks. This is the final product. Add it in. You gotta make sure it gets in every crevice. Now, if you notice, I only put a tiny bit in the cave. The floor is gonna be mostly these rocks. So we have an area like this, plus with some thicker sand. I'll grab some moss from our moss farm and place it right there. Now for the decorations. I put in some sea glass that's safe for the animals that I sanded down. And now it looks sort of like a crystal cave. And adding some simple shells makes it liven up so much. And the best part starts right now. Adding water. Of course, the water's a bit foggy at first. But, bam. Now, for adding plants, now that the water's partially cleared, I'm going to use 3 of these, because they bring some good greenery. I added these floating clovers, because I thought they would look cool. That looks nice. And for the best part, to add my snails. Okay, I arranged them. Now I'm going to leave them both for a bit. But I'd say Operation Save the Snails and Indian Ocean is complete.